insight video today, and I've, I've I really feel like there's a shift in like vibration and frequency, and it's happening on the planet at the moment. There's a shift and there's a change in consciousness, vibration, and frequency. So like this morning, I woke up and I was having a conversation like in my head, and I was sort of like this was a conversation about like the like spiritual consciousness, or spiritual reality, spiritual frequencies. And when it was going on this morning, I was just like thinking about what I was seeing, what I was feeling, and as I was starting to sort of get into the feeling, it was sort of like this sense or this impression was coming on, and this conversation that was going on was sort of like it was like higher awareness, higher understanding, and higher insight around sort of like spiritual living, spiritual being. And yesterday was very much sort of like a day of where it was talking about integration, and it was talking about aligning. It was about like vibrations and frequencies, but the integration was talking about sort of like again integrating energy, and energy becoming sort of like one body of one consciousness of like one frequency. So it was very much around sort of like oneness in this sense. So we got the universal law of oneness that always talks about that everything is nothing is separate, and everything is connected, and everything is part of the whole, that there is no separation. And this is one of the sort of like the shifting in consciousness as we start to move to being more sort of more spiritual beings in a more spiritual reality, and start to express our more spiritual light. And again, I was there again yesterday. I was getting a lot of feelings around illumination, and illumination. This concept, when you talk about Lord Lanto and the Ascended Master, he talks about illumination. It talks about sort of like illumination is like this stepping onto the path. So the stepping onto the path is like, so we all start to sort of like gain insight and awareness into our own intuition and our own consciousness, and this starts to then open up the sort of like open up our energy to start to connect with our infinite selves and our higher selves. But stepping on the path is like the ascension process of going back to oneness, and going back to a oneness frequency, which is where we start to become aligned again and open to receive information, guidance, understanding, and insight. But also stepping on the path and illumination is sort of like where we become guides. We become guides for ourselves, but for others as well. Because we're all sort of like one frequency, we're one vibration. So anything that we express, anything that we bring forward, from intuition, from what we receive, is to be shared by the collective, and is to be given to the collective. And this helps us all to sort of like harmonize with each other, but harmonize with the universal source, light, and creation. So when I was going into this feeling and this sense of that, so they were talking about illumination, and sort of like in a sense, illumination is stepping onto the path where we all sort of like become teachers, but we also become students in a sense as well, because we're sort of like we're learning and we're expressing, and then we're creating and we're manifesting, using consciousness and vibration, frequency, and energy. And it's sort of aligning with true wisdom, true understanding. And I think most people that start on this path, there's a bit of teaching, but there's also a bit of sort of like where you're learning, and you're learning through spirit, you're learning through intuition, you're learning through your infinite self and your higher self. And the path of illumination is what leads to this sense of not becoming a master, but the ascension process, where you actually start to step onto that path where you're open to receive insight, you're open to receive insight from the archangels, and you're open to receive insight from the masters and the universal teachers. And that's what stepping on the path is. This is what the illumination path is around. It's about being an open channel to receive information, receive insight, and start to again. I also had yesterday a lot around sort of like soul abundance, soul purpose in this sense. So we were talking about sort of like stepping into your soul purpose, your soul abundance, your soul wisdom, and bringing that forward. And again, it's about reclaiming soul qualities, and the soul qualities are sort of like what's been a sort of like accumulated through many cycles of death and rebirth, or cycles of, or it's not even death and rebirth, but it's like transformation and it's transmutation. You know, so it's about bringing that those soul qualities onto online, and bringing them in, and sort of expressing them, and bringing them into this reality, and bringing them into this sort of like on for this reality, which is this planet. This planet is a reality. It's a spiritual reality. It's a spiritual consciousness. You know, we need, when you talk about spiritual, and sort of like you're talking about expressing spiritual truth, or your, you know, spiritual reality, is so much deeper than the physical. It's many different energetic layers of vibration and frequency and consciousness, and different realms and realities. So it's sort of like, I say reality. Reality is the spiritual sort of like the spiritual manifestation of what we see and experience here. And this planet is a reflection of that. It's a reflection of source, light, and creation in that way. And many of us are here, you know, to create and manifest. And that's another thing that we've been talking to me about, manifestation and creation. That was another thing that was very much coming through yesterday, was around manifesting and creation. So this soul sort of purpose, and this soul wisdom, and this soul qualities were about expressing them, and creating and manifesting through consciousness and through spiritual vibration and frequency. And again, that connects to the universal law of vibration and frequency. And then you've also got things like the universal law of like cause and effect, where every action has a reaction. And then you have sort of like the universal law of compensation, which is very much around what's being created or expressed from your source energy and light, is what creates your reality, which creates this reality, which through frequency and vibration and consciousness, which is what creates and manifests the external world. And then you've got sort of like the universal law of compensation, which is affected again by the universal law of cause and effect, and the universal law of attraction, where it very much talks about like the universal law of attraction is again what you're vibrating, what you're sort of like, your vibration, your frequency is what attracts things into your life. And it attracts the sort of like the energy, and sort of like the opportunities and the experiences and events that are needed, depending on your sort of like your vibration, your frequency. And then you've got like the universal law of compensation, which is again the reflection of the cause and effect. The actions that you've taken through your thoughts, feelings, and what you've manifested is what the law of attraction then creates to your life. And the universal law of compensation is a reflection. So what you're experiencing and what you're receiving is again what you've created. And it's all around creation. It's all around sort of manifestation and creation. And then you've got like the universal law of rhythm, which is cycles of growth, cycles of expression, cycles of creation and manifestation. And everything goes through these cycles. There's a natural rhythm, and the rhythm is also connected to the vibration and the frequency that you've created. And as you can see, when you look at the universal laws, they work in harmony with each other. They're in perfect harmony, because each one of them is connected directly to the next one. And again, this is how the spirit world works. Again, this is a direct example of the universal law of oneness, the universal law of frequency of oneness. That all things are connected. Everything is interconnected. Nothing is separate. And again, with the masters, and again, the masters have rays. These different rays are different frequencies of consciousness and understanding and wisdom and universal truths. And each ray is connected to the next. You know, you've got blue, you've got yellow, you've got pink, you've got green, you've got violet, you've got white, and all of them are these connections. They're all sort of rays of wisdom and understanding, which each master brings wisdom and brings insight and understanding and universal truths. But they're all a reflection again, and they're all like a reflection, but they're also of the source light and creation of the creator, of this source light energy. And each and every one of them, as with the angels, that they're a reflection of that, and each of them are there to shift consciousness, shift understanding, shift awareness, to bring us again into alignment on the planet, so we can once again vibrate as these spiritual beings And like I was saying earlier, this conversation in my head today, when I was having this conversation, it comes back to this again, where we're aligning. I was doing talk about soul qualities and soul wisdom, soul sort of purpose, and bringing that online and manifesting and creating it. And this is all part of the source light creation. The source light creation is this creative force. It's this creator force that's in each and every one of us. And this conversation that was going on in my head this morning, I was having this conversation about infinite sort of light creation, understanding wisdom, and frequencies, and understanding how energy manifests and creates and aligns and integrates. But as I was going through this conversation, I was then sort of like, this sort of like aspect of self. I was wondering about, where's this conversation coming from? Where's this information coming from? Is this a guiding presence, or is this sort of like another aspect? And when I sort of like was going deeper into the energy was more or less saying that when you have this conversation with yourself, although it can feel like a guiding presence, I felt very much like this was like my infinite self. This was my higher self coming online, and it was aligning and integrating with into my energy to bring the human self and the higher self to like into one vibration, one frequency. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, and this is what I feel they were giving me. And it's only a snippet, because obviously I'm not in this state of being all the time, and they, like I said, this is taught, this takes work, this takes practice, and this is part again of that illumination path, and also that path of mastery, where you start to allow this, or start to connect, where your higher self and your infinite self comes online. And this is what I feel is happening for a few of us at the moment. And there's a few spiritual beings that are waking up to this awareness and this understanding, and the non-separation is one of the biggest teachings. The fact that everything is one vibration, one frequency, there is no separation. And again, this is a teaching, and this is a direct sort of like teaching again, showing me that the human self and the higher self, when walking in this reality, they can be like one being, one energy vibration. And it's about us. This is how you cut. This is how you become whole. This is how you become connected to that source light creation. But you also connect to like a more spiritual aspect of self, that you can walk and exist and vibrate as this spiritual being, and bring your human self then becomes an open channel to receive, and to be directly connected, and directly open to your infinite self, your higher self. And then this will only then open up your channel to receive more vibration frequencies, from the universal teachers, the ascended masters, the angels that are all around us. When you're in this state of being where your human self and your higher self, or your infinite self, is open and connected and online, then it allows you then to be open to receive these higher frequencies, these higher vibrations, which the masters and the angels and the universal teachers bring. And this is what the part of the process, and this is the transmutation and the transformation that many of us are going through at the moment. And it's really, really important that we recognize this, and then we become aware of it, so then we can integrate it. So that integration becomes then like where we work more and more to go into harmony, to integrate and open our channel up, so that the higher self and the human self are one being and one vibration. And the more we can integrate that, the more we become open channels then, and we can manifest, create, more in a spiritual light, from a spiritual place of wisdom, understanding, and harmony. But then also again, this allows us then to work more with the universal laws as well. So the universal laws will come into play, because law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of frequency, the law of oneness, the law of compensation, the law of correspondence, the law of cause and effect, the law of rhythm, the law of attraction, all of these things will come into play, because when we're aligned like that, then we're working within it, because we're in harmony, we're in that one vibration again. But also again, this will allow the masters, the angels and the teachers and the guides and the universal beings and these infinite beings of light that work with us, allow us more, and the more we're into one vibration, and we're more aligned, the more we're open to receive, and the more we're coming from a place of spiritual truth and spiritual essence, and we can express that. And then we can help shift our own consciousness, our own energy field, and then we can start to align that energy and manifest and create in a way that's in harmony for this reality and this planet to shift and change it into a new age. So that's the insight for today.